And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got an excellent show today. We're going to talk about the National Guard being deployed in Chicago. We're also going to talk about the Texas redistricting. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. And I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. But first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, for making it possible for me to be here. And welcome to the show. Folks, what we saw when President Trump instituted the National Guard in Washington, D.C., we saw a successful drop in crime. And to the American people or patriots across this country, it continues. The Democratic Party and the Democratic-led cities are infested with crime and migrants and everything else. Had it not been for President Trump closing the borders and shutting down all the migrants and DOGE removing them off our welfare, our housing programs, all the stuff that they have been getting has been shut down. And the American people and patriots across this country should be happy about that. But it's not everybody smiling. The Democratic Party no longer have a way to keep robbing the American taxpayers out of money. And now that they have been truly been exposed to the American people and patriots across this country, we really need to stand with President Trump and Tom Homan and ICE and make sure that we no longer have to worry about those illegals who are in our country, murdering people, killing people, just like the illegal alien who got a CDL license and ended up killing a family in Florida. So, folks, with saying that, let me get my group in so we're going to discuss these matters. Hey, Dre.
How you doing?
Doc, Randy.
Hey.
How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Like I said, since Trump has instituted the National Guard in Washington, D.C., and crime almost disappeared, I want to get your thoughts on that. Dre?
Yeah, well, it is more of the same broken promises. As I was telling you earlier, Pastor, today marks the anniversary of the Hart-Celler 1965 Immigration Act. And the broken promise then was that they weren't going to increase immigration. The broken promises among all these Democratic cities is that they were going to decrease crime, and that crime is decreasing. But we know that that is not true. But in the short amount of time that the National Guard has been there, we have not seen a single murder.
Not one. Randy?
You know, Democrats are throwing a fit about protecting Black lives. And this is exactly what President Trump is doing. He's trying to protect Black lives. And Black Lives Matter is quiet right now. They're like, why are we trying to protect the Black lives all of a sudden? No. And we can't do this, and we don't want the guards in our cities and everything else. But at the same time, at the same time, you have the everyday innocent black families that are not losing loved ones because of this administration's actions. And I'm baffled at the fact that they're mad about this. This tells me as a black man that the Democrats don't care about black people. I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. Democrats do not care about black people because if they did, they wouldn't have a problem with what's going on right now.
Doc.
Yeah. What a difference the guard makes, right? When you actually care about people and you care about their safety, right?
Yeah.
We see it in action. And to Randy's point and to Andre's point, the Democrats do not care. They have made so many broken promises and they've backed themselves into a corner where they've made it so where they can't even be logical to say, you know what? At this juncture, we can be bipartisan and we just want safety for everybody. We may not agree with Trump on everything, but we can agree with him on this. They could do that and not lose their base, but it's almost like they're afraid to do it as if, okay, everybody's going to walk away from us, even if we agree with him on something that's logical.
Mhm.
Well, you know what? It shouldn't matter whether it's a Democrat or Republican. The responsibilities of our politicians is to make sure that the American people are well taken care of. And to the American people and patriots across this country, we can see who the Democrat Party is taking care of. They spent so much money for those illegals, and yet not one penny is going to the American people. And I find that sort of ridiculous because how are you able to stay in office and claim that, you know, you're working for the American people, that you're trying to do the best that you can, and yet you don't want to administer a dime to help the homeless here in Chicago, but you are continuing to put billions of dollars, I'm going to say billions of dollars, into the illegals so that they can commit crimes in our country.
Yeah.
They can get licensed illegally. There's so many things that the Democratic Party is doing to help these illegals and not the American people, that there needs to be a shakeup and the Democratic Party need to be disbanded. Now, guys, you know, President Trump signed a executive order, I believe this morning I was watching it, but this executive order knocks out the cashless bill. Your thought, Randy?
Mm-hmm. About time. I don't even know why people thought that was a good idea in the first place. You know, and our society, we're just jacked up. I've been dealing with nonsense all day today, so I'm just and it's still early. You know, like Jesus Christ. But
Yeah.
the cashless bill. You know, when somebody commits a crime, they are detained. They're going through their due process according to the Constitution, you know, 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments and all that good stuff. And in that, it's hey, we're not going to let you out of jail unless you can provide us some collateral to say that you are not going to commit a crime during the process of your release, type of thing. And if you're good, you get it back in some cases. But to just say, oh no, we're just gonna let you back out. You know, it's catch and release. It's literally what it is. It's catch and release. It's bringing them in, booking them, and then saying, okay, have a good day, thanks. You know, we'll see you in a few hours because you're gonna do something else. It's ridiculous, and I'm just glad that they're repealing that, and it did not help anyone but the criminals at the end of the day.
Doc?
Yeah, I think it was more so a DEI program, right?
Yes.
That went awry. And because they used Black people as the excuse for it. They were
Yes.
like, okay, Black people don't have the money and this, that, and the third. But then they started using it with illegals, not even recording the crimes that they were committing and just turning them back out into the street. And now they've made it unsafe for everyone. So again, this is just policies that have really gone awry and gone bad. And the Democrats, they just need to do better.
Yeah.
Dre?
Yeah, and I wonder if this cashless bail and this under 1,000, it's a misdemeanor. Have these things contributed to the low numbers that they're talking about?
Mhm.
And it seems that these policies have really been unpopular with their own base. So I just don't understand why they're pursuing these policies. Catch and release doesn't work at the border, and it definitely doesn't work in our American cities.
Well, that was the thing here in Chicago when J.B. Pritzker in the supermajority of the Democratic Party, they came up with the Safety Act. And that was the part of the cashless bill. But they had black people in Chicago and the state of Illinois thinking, oh, wow, now I can commit a crime and I ain't got to put no bail up. See, that was the facade that they created because black men not getting out of jail under the Safety Act. I can guarantee you that. They're not. But the illegals are. And that's how illegals are able to get out, still getting our money, still committing crimes, still killing people. And yet the American people and the people of the state of Illinois are suffering behind it. I don't believe, and I don't know of one black man who committed a crime that's been out under the Safety Act. So I think it was just a joke. This was part of the plan for the illegals to be here. And the Democratic Party paid for this invasion. They made sure that they had all the needs that they needed in order to be here, to be replacement for black people. So I just think what he did by signing an end to this cashless bill that restores some law and order back to the penal system, because I have not seen one black man, not one, who committed a crime and got out of jail. And in saying that, folks, we're going to play this clip about what the president did, because it needs to be, it needs to be just what happened in Washington, D.C., folks. See, they was complaining in Washington, D.C., and to the American people and patriots across the country, black people was glad that President Trump sent the National Guards to D.C. You know, I talked to several people that I know in D.C. They said that they was glad because now there was 0 murders once he implemented the National Guard in D.C. Your thoughts, Dre?
Yeah, and I've seen the clips of these mothers, these young women coming out and saying that they support what's happening with the National Guard. I was out there this weekend. They're not out there causing trouble. When I was out there, they were just out there with their packs, taking a break. They were just within eyesight, patrolling, doing what they needed to do. I did not see them harass one person while I was there. They were outside of a go-go concert and nothing went down. How many black gatherings where there's like an outdoor concert have you guys seen in Chicago, Detroit, and in other places in Washington, D.C. that have like some sort of mishap that causes some sort of violence and they have to shut down the entire event? They were able to do the event from start to finish, right in front of the wharf.
Randy?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, with the SAFE Act, I want to back up real quick. With the SAFE Act, and to Pastor Larry's point there, how come they didn't open up the jail cells for all the black folks that was already locked up with the SAFE Act? They could have been like, oh, you know what? Hey, let's start over from scratch. Everybody gets a get out of jail free card today, and we're gonna see what happens from there. No, they didn't, because once again, Democrats don't care about black folks. Y'all need to wake up and pay attention and smell the roses, because this is what's happening in our country. This is what's happening to us right now, and it just amazes me, you know, because I'm here in Austin, Texas, and I walk around every day and I'm talking to black folks, and they still hang on to, you know, these hopes and dreams that they have not gotten all these decades later. I'm like, at some point, you think you might want to wake up and change the sheets. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just me. That's just me.
Well, you know, the National Guard is a deterrent, right? They're not there to police, but they're there to relieve the police so the police can do their job, right?
Yeah.
They're just a protection and a fence so the police can do their job, which it goes to really show the respect level that people don't have for the police, right? So they needed an extra level of security, but then that gets back to community, right? So I really do hope that the police officers right now, while they have the opportunity, get in with their communities and start really having good conversations with the people that they're protecting. So when the National Guard is gone, right, they still have the relationships that they've developed within the city. So when things do go down, when things are wrong, people know, okay, I can call the police and they're going to be here to help make it safe for all of the citizens within the city.
Well, all you guys are correct. And I can remember growing up, the police was the Mr. Friendly. I
Right.
mean, you could talk to police officers. They patrolled our neighborhoods. They'd pull up and see a bunch of guys playing ball. They'd laugh. They'd talk with us, and that was a relationship that police officers had with the community when I was growing up in Chicago. Since then, it has really deteriorated because, and I got to be honest, we got a lot of bad police officers on our forces across the country because they're still killing black men and women. They themselves are part of the problem, and that's something that needs to be addressed in police departments across the country. We cannot continue to have officers who are good, and then we have the bad ones, because the bad ones are giving all the good ones a horrible name, and the distrust has been put in the black community with police officers. So I think that what he did with the National Guard was something that needs to be done in all the major blue cities, because this type of crime and mayhem is only going on in the Democratic-led cities like Chicago, New York, Jersey, California. All of this ridiculous stuff and the relationships that officers used to have with the black community are no longer there. Guys, I'm going to play this clip that we got, what's going on here in Chicago, because, see, and I hate to say it like this, Brandon Johnson is totally incompetent.
Garbage.
And he is an idiot, because you would think that after what he saw in Washington, D.C., he would welcome the National Guard to Chicago to make the crime disappear. But he's not. He's still standing on the fact that, well, I don't need the National Guard because crime is down. Crime is not down in Chicago to the American people and patriots across this country. The Democrats are using lies. They're using all different types of facades to say that crime is down. It is not.
Right.
Crime is worse in Chicago than it was before. Dre, go ahead.
Yeah, and Pastor Laurie, you're spot on. And the reason you're seeing this rhetoric is because they're all in cahoots. They're all having meetings. They're all reading from the same script and saying the same thing. And they're coming out and they're making statements together. And they're trying to get the media against President Trump. And it's not working. Every time they come out there and they come out with their fake numbers, it just makes them all look ridiculous.
And that's, anybody want to add to that before I put the clip up?
Well, you know, as much as they want to justify their actions, it'll never work, because it is what it is.
No, it won't. Let's play this clip and we'll respond to this.
After seeing massive success in our nation's capital, President Trump is now looking to expand his crime crackdown in Chicago. But Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing back. Listen.
What this president is doing, he's declared a war on poor people, picking on homeless people, picking on the most vulnerable. That is not what the people of Chicago are going to stand for. We're not going to surrender our humanity to this tyrant. I can tell you this, the city of Chicago has a long history of standing up against tyranny, resisting those who wish to undermine the interests of working people. We're not going to back down.
Now, I wanna get your thoughts on this, because this is how idiotic that is. Now, what sense does it make for the president of the United States to be attacking homeless people? You see what I'm saying? See, this is the type of rhetoric that he's spewing out on national news. The president's not worried about homeless people. He's worried about the illegals who are in our country committing these crimes. What's your thoughts, Randy?
Brandon Johnson, I don't understand. No, for me, it's very simple. If I'm watching the news in Chicago and I heard him say that, I'd be like, oh, so what you're really saying is it's the homeless people that's committing the crime, and
right,
and you're trying to protect them, because that's you don't see rich folks running around committing crime. So this is what this is what I'm translating that as. And people are not stupid. And I feel really bad for Chicago right now, because they're getting a missed opportunity to clean their city up, to make it vibrant again, to bring back businesses, and to allow their kids to go outside and play without the worry of a stray bullet blowing their head off. So for Brandon Johnson to say, you know, he's resisting. This is the Democrats play, buzzword. We're resisting the president. It's like, you're an idiot. You know, it's like, take all the
Dre?
seats in the stadium.
Promises made, promises kept. What we saw in Trump's first administration is that he said he would do something in Chicago about the crime. They kept him out of office in 2020. In 2024, he's back to business and he's dealing with the crime that he said he would deal with. Now, as far as Brandon Johnson's statement about the homeless people, it's idiotic because the president has made it clear why he's doing what he's doing. He said he doesn't feel that when people come to DC, there should be all this homeless. He doesn't feel that people that are citizens in Chicago should have to deal with crime from people whose mental capacities are not managed and they're becoming violent, whether they have mental issues or whether they're dealing with drug issues. So the way that he's dealing with it is this. He said, you can either leave, and if you don't leave, you will be arrested, or you can get the help that you need. We'll put you in a drug treatment. We will put you in housing so that you can get the help that you need. So he's not attacking the homeless. He's helping the homeless and giving them opportunities to fix the problem instead of what the Democrats have done for the last 60 years is nothing.
Right.
Doc?
Right. Well, you know, he took away their money source. Come on, homelessness is big business. Look,
Yeah.
Yes.
he
Yeah,
stopped
it
the
is.
gravy train. Okay. They are upset because now it's like, to Andre's point, you've had ample time to handle this problem. And it's only gotten worse because, see, you focused more on making the money than actually fixing the problem. Now you're crying because he's in there to actually fix the problem and get it done. And he's demanding that you get it done with an executive order. So now guess what? You have to do your job, or you can be removed from your position by the people because they're going to see you not doing the work.
Yep.
So I really like what he's actually done with this executive order. It's forcing people to do their job.
Their jobs.
That's
yes.
right.
And you, all you guys are so correct because, you know, a couple of years ago, and we do it every year in Chicago, the street organizations, GDs, BDs, Vice Lords, they're part of the grassroots community here in Chicago. And some of my comrades, David Boxdale, Larry Hoover's sons, all of them, every year we take goods out to the homeless. We take clothes, we give food, we do all of this, and we're the only ones that I've seen. I haven't seen none of the churches, none of the pastors, none of them have come to help the homeless people. But we have been doing it every year, and we continue to do it. It's sad that we don't get money from the government to do this. We take money out of our own pocket, and we buy hygiene stuff. We buy clothes everywhere. I mean, we go to different Salvation Army. We get gently used clothes. We buy new stuff, and we take it and we give it to them because there is nobody that is actually in these Democratic-run cities worried about the homeless, and yet they get millions of dollars in the national budget to help homeless people in all these major cities, and the homeless people never see that money. I'm going to play a little bit more of this clip about what President Trump is talking about.
Now, thanks for getting up with us to talk about this. You know, if you were still on the force, would this be welcome news for you, or do you think this is overreach?
Oh, no, this would be absolutely welcomed. Our officers need as much help on the street as they could possibly get. I mean, if you look in the last 6 years, statistical facts always reign supreme. We got 19,600 people shot in the city of Chicago. Just this weekend alone, 19 people shot, 4 dead, one of them a 5-year-old. So give us all the help we can get. I encourage, welcome, and I hope President Donald Trump sends some help to Chicago. We needed all the help we can get.
Yeah, I think the NYPD and several of their officers are welcoming that news, too, that he said it was going to come next. You know, Pritzker said Trump is trying to manufacture a crisis, but when you read off those stats just now, it doesn't seem like this is manufactured at all. It seems like this is Chicago and their leadership not leading and doing anything about the problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know what? This has an economic reverb on as well. I mean, not only are people scared to go on the streets, our businesses are afraid to open in Chicago as well. So there's a trickle-down effect. It's not just the crime and the fearful people to go out and walk around the city of Chicago. We can't even get businesses to come here anymore. Our Meg Mile has never seen so many vacancies. Chicago was the hub of, central United States. People came here on their way from coast to coast, and now we're begging people to come back to Chicago.
You responded to, there's no telling how many calls. You saw things firsthand. You spoke to the people of Chicago firsthand. When you hear this rhetoric that's coming from the Chicago mayor, it's coming from the governor, do you think this is really what the people of Chicago want? I know they vote these people in, but they can't want this. Surely they want crime to be at a minimum.
Yeah, this is political agenda. This is when Chicago and our current administration always puts politics over people. They're following an agenda. Unfortunately, in Chicago, like in other cities, we have a socialist agenda that reigns supreme at the top of our administration, and a couple of city council members as well. It's not what Chicagoans want. They want someone to step in. A lot of them, when you go word to word on the street, they want the president to step in. They've seen what happened in Washington. We need that help here. And when I was on the street, we encouraged, if we had state troopers to help us, if we had the county to step in to help us, you always encourage more people to step up and help you, especially when you have this big of a problem.
Yeah, especially, you saturate the area with it.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on it. Anybody up?
I agree with them sorry. I was gonna say I agree with him wholeheartedly. Being born and raised in Chicago, you see the decimation that has occurred over the years. And I went back home a few weeks ago now, and it was very sad to see the deterioration that happened in Chicago. And I rarely saw any police cars. That was the other funny thing. It was like day, afternoon, and night. I rarely saw a cop car anywhere. So I was like, man, where are these guys at? They usually, pretty much in full force out here, type of thing. You would see them at least on every other block. It was very few of them. So to his point, people welcome law enforcement into their communities. They welcome that because then it provides a layer of a sense of safetyness. To say that you don't want them there, we don't need you and all this kind of stuff, you're encouraging bad behavior. And this bad behavior is going to reign supreme. And then they're going to say, oh, nothing to see here. They're there. It's just, a normal cycle and we'll be okay. Don't normalize stupidity and don't normalize crime.
Dre?
The reason, Randy, you're not seeing the police officers there is because they've had a budgeting issue for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They spent all this money on illegal aliens. And what does it put them? Where does it put them?
Mm-hmm.
In the red. So now you'd think that they'd want this additional help so they can pay less overtime to some of these police officers, do joint operations with them to utilize less manpower so they could use that money in other places.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Wow, busted. I'm just saying, they're everything that they've been trying to hide is out in the open, and they really have nowhere to go. Their policies have failed, and they just have to admit defeat. But again, even in Chicago, I'm hoping once Donald Trump sends the National Guard that they really take the time to community police, to really get out there in the community and have a whole campaign. So when the National Guard is gone, right, they will actually have a community to protect. Because see, by lowering the standards of criminality, they've allowed it to be just a hotbed for criminals. And they know, the criminals know, we can rob you with impunity and there's no repercussions for us. There's no consequences. So they created that culture, and they're going to have to fix it.
Well, guys, it's just like this guy that was released under the Safety Act, the no bail, when they found that woman in a garbage can full of alcohol with her head cut off. He should have been automatically put in prison for life. But under the Safety Act, he was out the same day.
That's right.
Same day. And the same day they found the body. Okay.
Yes.
People need
when they
to know
found
that.
the body. Yes. And I think that this whole thing that the Democrats are doing, and saying the people of Chicago are upset about the National Guard, to the American people and patriots across this country, people in Chicago are welcoming President Trump to come because we need that backup, because our police officers are overworked. Then you're talking about regular crime. Now they got the migrants here adding more crime to our communities, and they're not even counting the crime that they're doing. I'm going to play this clip about what Brandon Johnson is saying.
After seeing massive success in our nation's capital, President Trump is now.
Well, let me get that, guys. But the thing of it is this: he is not trying to do anything that's going to conform and help black folks in this community. So I got this. Let me get this ready for you guys. Check it out.
Yep.
Hey
And
there,
that's the
ladies. Good
part of the
morning to
plan.
you both right now. City and state leaders are all standing together and joining forces, calling the president's plan an overreach and a manufactured crisis. Now, for the past couple of weeks, the Pentagon has reportedly been drawing up plans, and deployment of troops to Chicago could come as soon as September. President Trump has called the city, quote, a mess, blaming what he calls grossly incompetent leadership. Chicago is not the lone wolf in all of this. The president has talked about sending troops to other cities across the country as well. Mayor Brandon Johnson pushed back over the weekend, saying crime is down and military troops have no place in the city of Chicago. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel dismissed the president's plan and called it political theater.
Is he going to try to put National Guard around Michigan Avenue or downtown? Or is he going to go into Englewood or other parts of the city that do have a crime problem?
Now, I want to stop it right there. This is the former mayor of Chicago, and he's a piece of crap because under the Rahm Emanuel leadership, he shut down over 350 schools in the black community. Rahm Emanuel did away with a lot of things in the city of Chicago that could help the black community get back on track. And yet he said something that was clear. See, Michigan Avenue hasn't never experienced what they've experienced with the crime. The Mag Mile, it has always been a place where you can come to Chicago, you can go down to the Mag Mile, you can shop, you can enjoy yourself, take your family down there. But now, since under the leadership of Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson, these stores are closing. They're being robbed by Black Lives Matters with the teen takeovers. They're doing everything that they can now. But Rahm Emanuel just said something that contradicts what J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson were saying. Brandon Johnson keeps saying that the crime in Chicago is low. It is at an all-time low. But Rahm Emanuel just said out of his mouth that there's crime in Englewood and all the other black cities.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Dre?
Yeah, and his point is that they're only going to go to the good part of town and keep crime out of there. What is the problem with that? What is the problem with posturing? You know, because sometimes if you do a display of force, you won't have to instill force into the smaller communities. People will think twice about doing some things, or at least for a few days, they're going to watch and see how this enforcement is happening. Because what would happen if you do something in your neighborhood and instead of the police coming, the National Guard comes? They're not sure. So they're not going to pop off as easily as they have before. So I think that this show of force, whether it's in the good parts of town or whether it's in the bad part of the town, is only going to be helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Doc, go ahead.
Wasn't it called Chirac? Didn't they make a movie about it when Rahm Emanuel was mayor? Like, bro,
Chirac.
like it was bad. It was so bad. Spike Lee made a movie about it and called it Chirac.
Yeah.
Really? Y'all have a problem. And it's only gotten worse since the migrants have gotten there. And on top of that, insult to injury, they help people that weren't even legally here, on top of the black people that were already suffering.
Well, the sad part of it is under the Rahm Emanuel leadership, it was like a tally every weekend that we were getting 100 people shot, 50 dead. You know, the numbers was astronomical about under his leadership with crime. I mean, he did nothing but take money from the police department. And with all the crime that was going on, the National Guard should have been called in under Rahm Emanuel's leadership, because it was like every weekend, it was double-digit numbers for people getting shot and murdered, triple-digit numbers, because it was getting into the hundreds, 150 shot, 30 dead. I mean, under his leadership, we should have had the National Guard then, but we didn't. Now, guys, I'm going to play another clip because I don't think the people in the state of Illinois really understand the money that has been spent on the illegals. And I mean, JB Pritzker's walking around shaking his pants, talking about that, he's not going to help black people. He's going to keep putting money into the illegals, and they keep lying about the amount of money. So I want to bring this clip on to show you just how much money that's been spent on these illegals.
$2.5 billion. That's how much Illinois is projected to spend on migrants by the end of 2025, according to a new audit. But taxpayers are calling out the governor, J.B. Pritzker, for putting the needs of illegals over his own citizens. Chicago resident and director of the Community Roundtable, Kata Truss, is one of those taxpayers. She joins me now. To me, the key line of the audit is this, Kata. In 2023 alone, total costs outpaced expected spending by over $400 million, enough money to shelter Illinois' entire homeless population for a year. What do you think of your governor prioritizing illegals over your friends and neighbors who are citizens, but who are also in need?
Well, I've been very vocal about how I feel about it. I've been very vocal about the fact that this Illinois governor has neglected both our Chicago public schools, our citizens of this city, as well as the state of Illinois. What we are afraid of, what the taxpayers of Illinois are afraid of, is the fact that there is going to be a $3.2 billion budget deficit for the state of Illinois heading toward the year 2026. And that is troubling to us, especially when we look at the money that has already been spent, and the fact that instead of our governor, as well as other Democrats, standing up and saying, we made a mistake, we got it wrong with how we handled this migrant crisis, they continue to double down and make it seem as if they did something to be commended about, and they have not. And the people are going to show them this at election time.
Your thoughts, Doc. You're up.
Wow. Yeah. Like she said it all. Because I guess, at a certain juncture, you're no longer going to be able to pull the wool over the eyes of your people. Yep. Right. They're no longer going to believe you. I don't care what you do. You can come out and say free ice cream for everybody. They already know what you're intending to do. So you can't lie to them anymore. They've wasted their political capital, and they don't have any anymore with their people.
Randy?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Doc. And I would add that when you're looking at how they are taking care of the migrants, the illegals, how they're taking care of them, people should wake up and say, you know what? There is a such thing as the replacement theory, and it's happening right before my eyes.
Migration. Oh yes,
yeah.
United Nations.
They're trying to eliminate us. They're not giving us the resources that we work for, that we own. They're giving it to somebody else, and they want us to die. They want us to wither and die. Like I said, the Democrat Party do not care about black people, and they're showing you every day. But guess what? We got political amnesia, ladies and gentlemen. We got political amnesia. Come November, come March, come May, come November again, it's gonna be, I'm voting Democrat because they got a D next to their name. That's what they're gonna do. That's so. I mean, it is what it is.
Sad.
Dre?
I do hope, Randy, that the number of people that do that is significantly less. And I want to look at what Kata said just now. Yeah. Kata said 2.5 billion spent on illegal immigrants, $3.2 billion deficit. And on top of that, just a few days ago, Governor Pritzker signed an act that would include illegal aliens in being able to receive financial aid. Yes. So, as Randy has stated, they do not care about Black Americans. Part of the reason why we have financial aid and certain scholarships and affirmative action is because of discrimination of Black Americans during a point of history in our education. So we we have to, as voters, start to look at how these elected officials are voting. And if you look at the Democrats in total, and you start to look at the voter rolls, recently they recorded that 2.1 million voters have left the Democrats and 2.4 million voters have gone to the Republicans. So that's a 4.5 million voter loss. So I'm hoping that this translates to Chicago as well, that we're seeing more people vote for elected officials that are going to do something for the Black citizens of Chicago.
I like
you know,
Go ahead, Randy.
I want to say real quick to
Go ahead.
Andre's point about the education factor there. You know, I got a flyer in the mail a few weeks ago from the United Negro College Fund. Y'all remember that organization?
Oh, yeah.
I got a
remember
job
that.
there. I didn't take it, but I got a job there. Go ahead.
Yeah, they on the flyer was a Hispanic kid.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
and they was soliciting money for it. So I said, oh, they must have changed their name to the United Hispanic College Fund because
Yeah.
Right.
who knew?
What we doing?
Who knew?
What we
Yeah.
doing?
So, but that's what we're dealing with. We got these historically Black organizations now catering to
Yes.
the Hispanic population, and then they say oh, Black and brown, but you never hear the brown say the Black and brown.
Right.
No.
So
No.
I'm just gonna
No.
might drop that
No,
right there.
it's infiltration. It's infiltration into
Yeah.
resources, and we have to delineate the resources, right?
Mhm.
Right.
It's like,
Absolutely.
no, you have your own bag. I need
Yeah.
I need you to focus on it and get your eyes off of mine. Seriously.
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
guys, you know what I find asinine, and especially when it comes to Black folks. Black people, we help everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody
Yeah.
get rich off the Black community. The Arabs, the Jews, the Chinese, everybody except Black people are increasing wealth, and we're not doing nothing for the future of our children. So what we're seeing here with Governor Pritzker is something that Black people need to be taking it to the polls. J.B. Pritzker, when you watch my show tonight, your fat ass is out of office. Brandon Johnson, you idiot. I'm going to take the 5th floor in 2027. And when I become mayor, we're going to roll back all of these failed Democratic policies. I'm going to enforce and increase our police departments, our fire departments, all of those who bring help to our community. They need to be well paid. There need to be more officers. There need to be more firemen. There need to be more EMTs. It basically needs to be funded so that these communities can build relationships back with our police departments and our services so we can get this under control. But I want to play a clip where J.B. Pritzker say he ain't not trying to hear that. And to Black people, think about this. Why would we vote for J.B. Pritzker? He's been in office for almost 8 years, and the Black community has dwindled. Not one penny has went to Inglewood or Auburn Gresham or on the west side. None of these areas where the crime rate is high, where a lot of Black people live, the money is not getting there because we got these house Negro politicians that are sitting in office. They're the ones who are diverting the money to other places besides making sure the Black community is well taken care of. And I'm urging people to come and be a part of this new resurgence of Chicago when I run for mayor.
Yeah.
We're going to need aldermen in place who will have to replace. We have to replace. Let me say it like this. Anybody that has been in office when it comes to the election in 2027, I'm just waiting for a debate so I can have security in place when those politicians who are going to debate me, the first thing I'm going to do is request that the police officers arrest these politicians who are on the stage because of all the lies they done told, the money they done stole, the people that they have killed to stay in control of our city with this mayhem. So that's going to be my first move, is we have to purge the system of all these bad politicians. But this is what J.B. Pritzker is saying.
All right, Illinois governor and potential 2028 presidential candidate J.B. Pritzker isn't backing down on Democrat Party policies.
To the pundits and the critics about what direction the National Democratic Party needs to go, I say, take a look at Illinois Democrats. Yes, winning elections is partly about messaging and strategy, but it's mostly about values and delivering on them. And our values are exactly where they ought to be.
But sadly, those same values and policies are what allowed an illegal migrant with a history of drunk driving to crash into and kill Darcy Connolly Brunner, the mother of former WNBA star Sophie Brunner. Police say he was driving in Freeport, Illinois, when he crossed into the opposite lane, striking Brunner head-on, killing them both. Andrew Chesney is the Illinois state senator representing Freeport, and he joins me now. State Senator, what an absolutely devastating loss for this family, which is why you feel motivated to speak out. So what is your message this morning?
My message was this was completely preventable, and J.B. Pritzker caused this. Republicans have been calling on J.B. Pritzker to eliminate his radical agenda that is harming Illinoisans from every part of our state. That includes the elimination of the Trust Act, which prevents local law enforcement from communicating with federal authorities. And so this was a preventable occurrence. And J.B. Pritzker is right behind the wheel, driving this radical agenda down the throats of everybody that I represent.
If you said that exact same thing, and I'm sure you have before, to your Democrat colleagues in the state Senate, you know, there are preventable crimes that are happening because ICE is not allowed to coordinate with police. If you said that to them, what would they say back to you? Is there any rational reason why this law hasn't changed?
Well, Governor Pritzker is protected by private security and big walls and a Grand Cayman Trust Fund. And so what they do is they use their money to manipulate the voters and confuse them. And that's why they've had the election results they have in previous years. Governor Pritzker has spent an unprecedented amount of money, $500 million, to manipulate the voters of Illinois. And it's helped mask these radical agendas. These are 80-10, 80-20 issues, 90-10 issues. People don't want this radical agenda that Governor Pritzker is putting forward. And the Democrats, for the most part, are along for the ride. They're very hesitant to push back on this agenda. They know it's not popular in their state. They know it's not popular in their communities. Rolling out the red carpet for illegal immigrants, providing free health care for illegal immigrants while everyone else has to pay a copay is not popular policy. But Governor Pritzker's, loves to go to these liberal enclaves and rub elbows with the coastal elites. He's really out of touch with the everyday people of not only this state, but this country.
Yeah, and this is, of course.
Okay, guys, your thoughts.
Well, they've decided they're not going to coincide with 287G. 287G is actually where the state and local police can work along with ICE to remove illegals that they know are very dangerous or just cross the border illegally, to have them removed. And so they're just refusing to do it. And people need to know this, but it's just the arrogance of the Democratic Party. It's that arrogance where they're like, we're untouchable. And I'm like, okay, y'all need to vote and touch it and remove it.
Dre?
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to really send out prayers to the family members that have lost people to illegal immigrant crime, because I think that a lot of the times the Democrats do a lot of lip service in this area, saying that they acknowledge the families, but they're not taking any actions to deal with it.
Yes.
We need to stop politicizing this. And I just want to give them a quick scripture. Just let the peace of Jesus Christ rule through your hearts. And we also passed recently the Lincoln Riley Act. The states can sue. And one of you asked the question, like, why aren't they dealing with these sanctuary city policies when people keep dying? Is because people aren't suing. We need to encourage people to sue the state, and they would stop doing these policies once they start losing money.
Randy?
That's true. You're absolutely right about that, Andre. And the other thing is the policies that kill people is the marquee that should be on every political banner come the election cycle. Your policies killed people, and people be like, "Oh, wow, that's a little deep there," but it's the truth, And so with that, I was just going to say that, you know, 28 in Texas, we actually put into law this year the 287G program. So it's mandatory in Texas for all 254 counties. And so now whether or not they are enforcing it by county is another conversation. But we have that. And the idea that you don't want to work with the federal government or federal law enforcement officials is just another marquee statement to say that you prefer criminals over the people, over your own
But they
citizens.
still want the money. They still want the money now.
Yes,
they want
they
the
do.
money, but they
Withhold the
don't want
money.
to abide by the laws.
Yeah,
They want the
withhold
money.
the money. If President Trump is doing the right thing by threatening to withhold money, he should withhold it regardless of what the courts say. I'm like, I tell the courts, come take it. You know, it's just like our Texas slogan, come and take it.
Come and take it.
You want the money? You want the money? Come and take it.
Well,
and that'll be it.
And you know, it's really sad because here in Illinois, Black people in the Black community is fed up with J.B. Pritzker, and they're fed up with Brandon Johnson. And when President Trump ran, the Black community came out and put up 45% for him, or maybe more. And so, to the Democratic Party in Illinois, your day is numbered. Coming up for these midterm elections, you're going to see a lot of those Democratic leaders lose their seat because the people of Illinois should no longer continue to allow the blatant, the disrespect, the hatred for the citizens in the state of Illinois, but yet you're taking our money, giving it to illegals. They're committing crimes and getting away with it. But let me play what President Trump had to say about all that.
Dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud as I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good. And I said, well, it doesn't sound good, but Washington was the most dangerous place in this country. And now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here. The restaurants now you can't get in. Many of them closed because they couldn't open with crime. Everybody before me is happy what I'm doing. Most of you won't say that because you're radical left. The newspapers are so dishonest. The press is totally dishonest, but that's all right. We've gotten used to it. And we won in a landslide, so they obviously lost their power. I mean, it's impossible to imagine that when you get 97% negative stories, purposely negative stories, even though you've done 97% positive things, that you could win an election in a landslide, winning all 7. Think of it, all 7 swing states, winning by the popular vote by millions of votes. We had a fantastic. The best is your districts. Out of 3,000 districts, I guess we won 3,500. We won 2,750, and they won 500. And that's, to me, the best of all. And we had tremendous in every way, the election. And it's hard to believe you can do that when you have a corrupt media. But many of you are corrupt, and it's nothing we can do about it. But we keep winning, and we're going to keep winning. And this whole story on crime is incredible that the Democrats wouldn't be with us. So the mayor of Chicago, I watched him this morning, he said, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He only apprehended 9 people. Well, number one, that's false. It's thousands. We'll get into that. But more importantly than anything, we took guns away. We have some of the worst career professionals out of the country already. They've been taken out of the country, and some are in solid confinement because these were killers. We arrested some very bad people. And in the last 11 days, again, I hate to say it because it sounds so ridiculous, but in the last 11 days, we've had no murders. And that's the first time that's taken place in years, actually years. We always have a murder a week. They call it a murder a week. You come here from Iowa, you come here from Indiana, you come here from Idaho, because you're so proud of your country, you love your country, and then you get murdered. Your son gets murdered, your daughter gets murdered, you get murdered. See the media, you get murdered. Many of you have been mugged in Washington, you just don't want to talk about it. And I know that every time I do this with you, you almost everything, but every time I do this with you, people are saying to yourselves, he's right, and then you write a negative story.
Your thoughts, guys. Who's up?
He's the digs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like he just digs
yeah.
all of y'all's graves and buries you like in public. It's
hmm
just his daddy's home, okay?
Yep.
Just telling y'all what to do, but he's just being honest, right?
He is.
All he wants is honest coverage, and it's so sad that our media is so propagandized. And that's I think hearing him say that is almost like code for the American people. Like, pay attention to what media you consume and
hmm
always look for the facts, especially when the media is distorted.
Dre?
Yeah, and they're talking about the apprehensions in the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not talking about the positive stuff, like the
Right.
two young black boys that went up to one of the National Guard machine tanks or whatever it was, right? Their Jeeps. And they're smiling, they're asking questions. This changed the trajectory of some young boys' lives.
Yes.
Seeing some other minorities be a part of the
Right.
National Guard, getting into the car and figuring out, oh, well, there's a different path for my life that I can take. And
Right.
they're also building trust with
Exactly.
authority
Yes.
figures as well. So that is nothing but positive, but the media will never talk about that.
Wow.
Randy?
Very true. Very true. You know, the other thing that the media won't talk about, to Andre's caveat there, is the fact that, you know, who they're arresting. They're not listing out like the the demographics of these problem child people. they're not talking about that. They're not talking about the fact that, you know, the economy is doing very well right now. They're not talking about how
Yes.
the minority population is actually doing very well right now, you know, in light of, or I should say, in spite of, you know, what's going on with the Democrat Party. And I just say to the legacy media, your days are numbered, because networks like Let the Truth Be Told network,
Yes.
we're taking over.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
Period.com, we're taking over,
Yes.
and y'all just get ready and go ahead and start looking for your cash out your 401k plans and looking for your retirement communities and all that good stuff, because you're dead. You're done.
Doc?
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm really glad that President Trump is pointing out the obvious to us, right, that are in the media, but on the same token, I'm just grateful that he's really taking a stance to keep people safe. And to Andre's point, you know, we don't see the community interaction. They want to do all the fear mongering, right? It's like
Yes.
you know, these National Guardsmen. Yeah, but they're there to keep you safe. You're not talking about the safety. And I did hear one news reporter, she shared how she had gotten mugged or whatever, and that she feels safer now. But depending on the outlet you watch, you'll probably never see that story. You know, you'll never see that coverage. So I'm just really glad that the Trump administration, that they're doing what they're doing.
Well, you know, one of the things that, and we're going to switch gears, because it's not only in Chicago, but this is all over where illegals are using our country, they're using our system, you know, just like this truck driver down in Florida who got an illegal license, and the people in California was caught scamming, giving licenses out to people who are not even qualified. I'm going to play a clip a little bit about that.
In California are going at it again. A crash on the east coast of Florida that took 3 lives this weekend is at the center of the fight. It turns out a truck driver who made an illegal U-turn entered the country illegally and had a driver's license from the state of California. So who's at fault for that? Fox 13's Evan Axelbank Center News, and with the latest on this one, Evan, untangle this for us.
Mark, Florida is pointing the finger at California, while California is pointing its finger at the federal government as to how this driver was allowed to have a driver's license. Either way, there are 3 innocent people who are dead and 1 person who entered the country illegally who could spend the rest of their life behind bars.
The carnage on the Florida Turnpike could have been avoided
had driver Harjinder Singh not tried to make a U-turn at a gap in the median that was for official use only.
That doesn't happen on a dime, so you had a car coming, run into it, and it ended up killing 3 people, all from Florida.
Singh came into the country through the southern border in 2018 during the first Trump administration. He was captured but released after claiming asylum, saying it was no longer safe in his home of India.
You're coming from India. How many other countries are you going through? And then you show up in the southern border and say asylum? Like, why didn't you get asylum somewhere else?
The governor blasted the fact that Singh had a commercial driver's license issued in California, which is where the beef starts. A senior member of the Department of Homeland Security tweeted that Singh's work authorization was rejected during the first Trump term, but approved in June of Biden's first year in office. California Governor Gavin Newsom responds, though, that once he had a federal work permit and is thus entitled to a commercial driver's license under federal law. Newsom also points out Trump officials didn't revoke his work permit despite their second-term crackdown. He asked if Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is asleep at the reins. During his press conference this morning, Governor DeSantis blasted the fact that Singh had a commercial driver's license, saying it was time for the federal government to make a blanket policy.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on this? This is what the American people and patriots need to really pay close attention to. These illegals are getting licensing. The license aren't valid. They are so inexperienced. They don't have the. I mean, it just blows my mind how you could have somebody in our country that can barely speak our language, and you're giving them money, you're giving them job opportunities. California needs to be cut away from America. We need to get a big old electric saw and cut California away, because they're, as well as Chicago, because they're allowing the illegals to act like they're citizens. Randy, your thoughts on this crime that was committed?
Yeah, it's very sad that happened, and to your point, it happened down here in Texas as well on I-35, right down the street from me. Twice now it has happened. It just happened again. I think I'm gonna say about a month ago now. It happened twice, and what's going on here? I'm gonna go ahead and peel back the onion for everybody.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and snitch. I'm looking around and make sure I don't get assassinated in the process. But no, what's happening is these illegals are coming in, and there's staff members in these facilities that are instructed to say to provide these people with permits, with licensing, with visa, with everything that they need to slip through the system, so they are not deported. They're being breaded in as being the new population for the United States. And to your point, Pastor, they don't speak English.
No,
they can't read English, and they don't understand our culture and everything else. And this is an existential threat to our national security when this is going on. And so it's just mind blowing that we're not cracking down on this even more. I think our local resources, our local law enforcement resources, are already tied up, but they might need to divert their attention from the locals, the American people, and focus on solving these issues immediately.
Yeah, there needs to be a forensic audit, just at all local levels, especially within the driver Department of Motor Vehicle Services all around the country, because also, to Randy's point, at the local level, they're testing these individuals, but they have a translator that's reading them the questions but giving them the answers.
Yes.
Some people may be working under one CDL. I was listening to Breitbart, and someone called in. It's like, if you have a clean CDL and the police run it and it's clean, there's nothing they can do. They can also use that same CDL multiple times. So there's just criminal activity upon criminal activity going on in these people who got these licenses. They need to trace it back to, like, who did you get it from? Where did you get it from? And really go into the heart of where this is happening. And I guarantee you, just like the one lady, she lost her job because she was a whistleblower in Virginia, saying, hey, people are paying $200 to get these driver's licenses. And guess what? She got fired, but all the people that were involved in it, they're still working there.
Well,
okay. They're still there. They're still doing this actively right now. And they didn't get fired. So we know that illegal people are happening. I took a Uber, a Lyft actually, in Kentucky, Missouri. Yeah. And guess what? He didn't speak any English. He didn't look like the person that was on the Lyft profile. Oh, me and Lyft will have to have a very hard conversation. The person that was driving me around couldn't even speak to me, and he was on the phone, by the way.
I
Oh,
would
it
have
was
been
horrible.
scared to
I was
ride.
terrified.
I
I was
bet you
terrified.
was too. And you know, Dre, you want to add something to that?
Yes, yes, I do. So, horrendous sin, just like Dr. Nichols was saying, couldn't read a lick of English. They've reported on this, and I'm kind of glad that I was sick for a few days because, you know, a lot of times when something happens, I try to wait and see if all the facts come out, because when they initially reported, I was like, he looks like an illegal alien, but I'm not sure. And
Right.
and I waited, and then I got sick, but I've been able to get some data, and he didn't pass the reading portion of his test. They still licensed him anyway. He couldn't read the signs or the English. So if you can't recognize the signs, you can't recognize English. He probably looked at that little space and couldn't read what that sign actually said.
Right.
Said, I'm going to make this turn. So this is a problem. And we really have to deal with these issues where we're just issuing out licenses. And like Dr. Nichols said, in Virginia, in Kentucky, they had this situation where they had the whistleblower, and the governor's investigating this right now. This is an ongoing investigation. But when they asked the governor of Kentucky about it, they asked him, is there an immigration aspect to it? And he said, I'm not sure. So it's just like they're playing in everybody's faces. There's so much money that's being generated from this mass immigration, illegal immigration. The states need to sue. We have Lake and Riley now. Sue them up. Come on, lawyers. Let's get these people out here so we can prevent some of these issues from continuing to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you know, I was looking at what you was talking about, Doc, how the woman that was a whistleblower got fired for blowing the whistle about these people giving them license. What needs to be done, there needs to be investigation into the DMVs across the state. And those who have gotten this illegal license, it needs to be purged. I'm sure that here in Illinois, they're giving license away. If you dropping at least $2.5 billion for illegals to go to school, but that money is not going to go to them to go to school, to the American people and patriots across this country. That money is going to the Democratic leadership's pocket. All of this money that J.B. Pritzker is about to drop in $2.5 billion in the state of Illinois for illegals. But the truth of the matter is what Ms. Catter said was $3.2 billion. See, they keep adding that $1.7 billion that they got from COVID, that shortfall. See, they took that money. When Brandon Johnson got that money, they announced that the money was brought in from the federal government during the end of COVID. So we had a $1.7 billion surplus. Brandon Johnson made the announcement. Then the money just disappeared. Probably 2 months later, Doc, we was doing the show, and he came up saying, well, the city of Chicago has a shortfall of $1.3 billion. Well, what happened to the $1.7 billion that you got from COVID that could have been used to offset some of the costs? But see, that's what this whole thing is about. The American people and patriots across this country, they're taking taxpayer dollars, they're stealing the money, they're raising taxes on the American citizens to offset the cost of the money that they're stealing. That $2.5 billion is not going to see the illegals. It's not. It'll be put back in Pritzker's pocket. You know, Brandon Johnson is a millionaire now that he has been used to get the money and try to justify the money that's going to the illegals. But now, Randy, we're going to change gears for a minute because I wanted to get this in, and it needs to be talked about.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about the redistricting that you helped get passed the other day while I get this clip ready. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, so yeah, we got that done here in Texas. What the Democrats' message fell apart on the floor, you know, and it was a beautiful thing. they tried to they kept saying that, you know, this is a racist thing, this is going to affect the black community, and this and the other. And Representative Hunter came up there and said, no, you actually had 0 HPBI, and you have 2 now, which means that, you know, a voter age population districts. And so whether how they vote is how they vote. But he said you had 0, you got 2 now. So how is that racist? If we wanted to, we could have just wiped all of y'all out and been done with it, and it is what it is, because we have a voter swing. So the Democrats shut up on that point. Representative Katrina Pearson got up there and she laid it out. She was like, "Why do you think, as Democrats, that you own the Black and Hispanic voters? Why not give them a choice? Why not let the lines fall where they may, and let the people decide at the end of the day? At the end of the day." And so that's what happened, and what the result is. We have 5 new districts, 2 of which here, one is in Austin, which is now basically it's going to be a minority district at the end of the day. And one of my candidates, Janelle Gary, she's running in 37, and the other candidate is 35, Stephen Wright. He's running in 35. And the other 3 districts, one is pretty much all black, and the other 2 is going to be pretty much all Hispanic. You know, so it's going to, based on the demographics that already lives there. However they vote is however they vote. But given the data and the metrics from the previous election cycle, we tend to believe that they're going to vote Republican, because the Democrats don't have a message, and they've been doing stupid stuff this whole time. So we're going to see what happens.
Let me play this clip about the redistricting.
Before you do, Pastor Lowery, can I say one thing?
I'll let you come up after
this. This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Chandler Painter in New York. We're following breaking news out of Texas, where the Republican-led state Senate just passed a new congressional map. The 18-8 vote was finalized after Republicans blocked a filibuster. The bill now heads to Governor Greg Abbott's desk to be signed into law. The new map was drawn to help the GOP win as many as 5 additional U.S. House seats in next year's midterm elections. This marks the final legislative hurdle for the redistricting plan backed by President Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The Senate's approval follows weeks of uncertainty after House Democrats fled the state for 15 days to block the 2/3 quorum needed to conduct business. Lawyers advised them to return on Monday to build a strong public record ahead of a potential legal battle. All of this has ignited an intensifying nationwide redistricting arms race. California Democrats responded on Thursday by approving their own new congressional map. It would hand Democrats 5 more favorable House districts. Unlike Texas, California voters still have to approve the new congressional map in November's election. This typically once a decade process is now expected to spread to other states in the coming.
Dre, go ahead.
Well, since you brought up that picture of Jasmine Crockett, one things that they asked her during an interview with her, one of the elected officials or leaders of the state Senate asked her straight up, "What do you mean by Anglo? Do you mean Republicans?" And she said, "Yeah, I mean Republicans." Well, she was like, she expanded a little bit more. She said, "You mean white Republicans?" She's like, "Yeah, well, you know that there are 2 black Republican elected officials, candidates that are out there running now. So what are you talking about?" So, you know, it's good that she clarified that. And to Randy's point, they're just trying to infuse race in there, and they're just losing the battle because they're not paying attention, and they fled for all these days, and all this happened while they were out of work.
Yeah. Well, Nicole Collier, their new little Jasmine Crockett, right? It didn't work. Right. She had a whole team. She had a whole team with her, acting like she was there by herself in the chambers while somebody took pictures of her, while she had her luggage in the background and a box that her, comforter came in. It was ridiculous. She had a whole news crew in the bathroom with her during a session. Like, well, what are you doing? Wow. Like, it was so much propaganda. It was ridiculous. So I'm glad to see that everything fell the way it fell. And I even spoke about this on my show. It's like, just because they're labeled Republican districts right now, they can change because people are going to vote the way they want to. There's 5 additional seats out there, and whoever gets them, you have to fight for it. right? So the Democrats are just whining as they usually do, and now they have to bring up the race card. It's like it's not working anymore. You actually have to do the work for the American people.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And the funny thing that this is how you know the Democrats didn't have a message. They literally was sitting on the floor reading a script that they was text on the floor. They was like, so line 3. Okay, so you got to do this, and why are y'all doing it? Y'all are racist, and y'all white people, and
horrible.
Y'all white people are racist. It was like, and they was called out. They was called out. Both like on camera and behind the scenes. Up there at the camera. It was like, why do all y'all have the same script and y'all are just like scrolling to see who's going to say what?
Right.
Y'all you don't care about this issue. You're just putting on theater and to get donations. Sit down somewhere and let's get this thing done. So
Dre, you want to add something to that, Dre?
No, I think that Randy said it all.
Well, the sad thing of it is that, and this shows the American people just how bad the Democratic Party is. You would think that they would be fighting for the American people to better our country, but they're not. They're fighting for illegals, and they have just cast the American citizens down to the ground as if we don't exist anymore. But they're using our money. They're using our money to fund an invasion. Now American citizens are being killed by these illegals who can't even speak English. They can't read English. They're getting driver's license. They're giving them money to open businesses with. That's where a lot of the money is going, to hide these illegals, because that's what J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson is doing. They're teaching them tactics on how to avoid ICE. They're changing their names because in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker and the Democrats created a law that says if you're an illegal and you've been in Illinois for a certain period of time, they will give you a whole new identity.
Yep.
Yes.
ITIN.
Yes.
That's what it is. ITIN.
Yes. And so those are the things that the American people, especially black people, we have nothing. We don't own nothing. We have nothing. They don't respect our communities. They don't respect our children. They don't respect, the Democratic Party does not respect black people in any kind of manner. And this is, we're seeing it in our face. So to the black community across the country, how much longer, and I know there's going to be some blacks who still want that they got the I hate Trump syndrome, but the numbers don't lie. And the progress that this country is making under the Trump leadership, we should be rallying around President Trump. And really, what we need to be doing is calling for President Trump to administer the Platinum Plan, the plan that he had that would give billions of dollars to the black community to get back on its feet, to have ownership, businesses, the schools. All of that money is sitting there waiting. But first, before that plan has to be implemented, it has the Democrats in office have to be purged out. Because just like when Donald Trump gave money to Chicago for the drug problem with the fentanyl, that $381 million, I will never forget this. $381 million the president gave for the south side of Chicago and the west side for the drug problem that it's had, and not one penny. We got all these black political leaders here in Chicago. Not one penny of that money was used to help the black community, but all of that money went to the migrants, and black people are still suffering. They invaded our community. They opened schools. They created warming centers. They gave them everything that they should have gave to black people. They didn't. And so black people in the state of Illinois, we need to get rid of J.B. Pritzker. Y'all need to come out and vote for me so I'll be the mayor in 2027 and see how fast that Chicago gonna rise up out the ashes with true leadership. And I say this to the American people and patriots across this country. I'm not a racist at all, but I do believe in my heart that the white community and every other community will need to stand with me in 2027 to assist the black community and get it back on track. If the black community had the dollars that everybody else had, if the Black community was reinvested into itself, then we wouldn't need all the handouts. We wouldn't need to be fighting about what money was allocated here, because we would create our own wealth and generational wealth for the Black community. And I'm going to be asking all the other communities, help me to uplift the Black community, because everybody else is doing fine. The Hispanics are doing fine, the Italians, the Irish, everybody in this country is doing well. They're not experiencing the crime problem, the hatred that the Black community is experiencing. And we need to be as one America and help uplift the Black community to get it back on track. Dre?
Yeah, Pastor Laurie, and I agree that the Platinum Plan is where we would be a good start. But I would say that we're only going to go as far as our immigration policies. We need to reduce the amount of immigration that we have. If we look at the Biden administration, they had at least 10 million people that crossed the border, 10 million inadmissible aliens. Trump so far has deported 400,000 people. And they predicted that a little bit over 1 million have self-deported. So that really hasn't put a dent in our problem for just the last 4 years that we've seen. So we have to put a stop to this immigration through policy, because we have seen administration after administration that doing it through executive orders will just temporarily solve the problem. I don't want this great progress to go anywhere. I love what I've been seeing, and we need to keep it and make it a permanent thing.
Doc?
Yeah, and I agree with Andre. It's got to be policy driven by legislation so that it's codified into law. Because whenever there's something done for Black people, it becomes people of color. Got to stop that. Stop that. No, we're talking about Black Americans. We're not talking about everybody. We're talking about a small segment of the population to get back on track. And I think it's something that, we have to fight for. President Trump is ready to talk to us, but we have to get ourselves ready so we can show that return on investment that will happen when we are invested in.
Randy?
I agree with both Dr. Nichols and Andre. Platinum Plan should be, something to be explored. But I also just wish that the Democrats just stop talking about Black people. Just go the rest of the election, the rest of your term without mentioning Black people in any of your political stunts. And let's see if you actually got a plan, actually got a policy, actually to talk about without the Black people in it. And then then maybe we can take you seriously. But until then, you gotta utilize the Black folks, because we're the emotional creatures of the society, and we're gonna jump and buck when something's going on out there. That's just how we are. I get it, but please do me a favor, leave us at the conversation. When we want to be part of the conversation, we will let you know, but it won't be anytime soon. I promise you.
Well, guys, and I want to we're gonna switch gears just for a second, and I want to say that the other day, one of our shows, we was talking about reparations, and a lot of times they kept saying, well, you know what, we need a study for reparations, and they're acting like they have never paid reparations before for anybody. But I want to post something up that I wanted to find the other day, but I found it. Now here we go, guys. America has always given reparations to other races except Black people. But when it comes to us, they say they got to, figure out how to do it. Well, here we go. Now, if you look at this chart, when you start talking about reparations, and America always saying, well, we don't know how to administer the reparations. But if you look at the chart from 1865 to present, the USA has given nothing to the Black community for slavery and Jim Crow. You can see it right here on the chart at the bottom, where it says African-American Black descendants from 1865 to present. The USA, not one dime has been given to Black folks. If you go up there in 1952, Germany got $822 million to the Holocaust survivors. Now, this wasn't just for, I mean, there's different type of Jews, and they gave this to the German Jewish settlement. 1971, the USA gave reparations, $1 billion plus 44 million acres of land to the Alaskan Native Land Settlement.
And we didn't do anything to the Jews.
No, we didn't.
So,
and they're getting that money every year. These people are getting this money, been getting this money every year. You know, here it is, 1980. The USA gave 81 million to the Kalamath of, or what is that?
I can't help you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
But I that's what I'm saying. All of this money in 1985, the U.S. gave $105 million to the Sioux of South Dakota. Now, those are the Indians. They deserve the money. If anybody deserves it, the American Indians deserve it. 1985, the USA gave $12.3 million to the Seminoles of Florida. So the Indians of Florida, Seminole Indians, got $12.3 million. In 1985, the USA gave $31 million to the Chippewa of Wisconsin. Now, these are Indian groups that they've been paying, and they should have been paying, because when they told the Indians they were signing a peace treaty and that they were signing titles away to the land to the American people. This is all deception. $32 million in an 1839 treaty to the Ottawas of Michigan. Those are Indians. 1988 in Canada, $2.30 million to the Japanese of Canada. So the Japanese in Canada, see, that's what I mean by being a nation, okay?
Yep.
When you are a nation, you can sue the American people, the country, for this money. So the Japanese in Canada, they got $230 million. 1988, the Indians and the Eskimos got 250,000 square miles of land from Canada that they stole. And then in 1990, Austria, 25 million to the Holocaust survivors of the Jewish claims of Austria. So, in other words, the Jewish nation sued Austria, and America paid the 25 million for the Holocaust survivors. But yet they can't even give Black people for the lives that was lost, the families that was torn apart, the slavery, the building of the country. Every time when it comes to Black people to be paid reparations, they have a problem with that. And they says, well, we've never done it. That's not true. Here you can see in 1990, the U.S. gave $1.6 billion to the Japanese Americans at $20,000 each.
Mm-hmm.
Each. Now, if you can't figure out how to pay Black people, then how are you paying all these other people money? Your thoughts on that, Dre?
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying about the Klamaths, they're a tribe in northern Oregon. It's an Indian tribe in Oregon. So I just want you to know that that's what that was. But yeah, it goes back to what you were saying about becoming a nation. And when you're a nation, you can sue. Now, again, I have to say, Numbers USA doesn't take a stance on reparations, but in this situation, Andre the person, I do think that reparations need to be distributed, and we need to figure out a wise way to do it. But we know how to do it, as you said, and like, you know, whether it's 20,000 a person, 60,000, whatever that number is decided upon, that's a one-time payment, and then your hands are clean. Move on, and then after people get it, they can't say, hey, I think that these people should get it. No, give it to the right people once and you're done.
Yeah. Well, we're a useful pain point, right? And they don't want to get rid of their useful pain point. Okay. Because a lot of people have joked and they say, well, the Latinos, they got your reparations. I was like, but you said we should never get reparations. So how are you even using the same conversation? Like, you're confusing me. You know what I mean? Don't gaslight me like that. And it's very hurtful to say it that way, but it's like, well, you should have stopped them. It's like, okay, now you've admitted that we should get it. because you said somebody else got it.
Right.
So you can't go back on
Mhm.
that. And I really do appreciate how Donald Trump is really, he set us up for a slam dunk. He's like, the 10-point plan is there. All we have to do is modify it to what we like and show him the return on investment that will be there, putting that plan into place. So then that part is on us.
Ready?
I would say this, and I know people gonna probably say, "Oh, you suck," but the reparations argument is here's where I stand on that. If we did get reparations, somebody somewhere would say it's not enough. It's never going to be enough, no matter no matter what the price tag would be. Somebody going to come along later on and say, "Well, that wasn't enough money." So we're still owe reparations, and we should be getting paid for every generation after us. So the conversation is never going to die, no matter this conversation actually took place in 1871 during the Freedmen's Bureau when they was giving out reparations back then. That conversation happened, so it's going to continue. So I'm agnostic to the reparations conversation, to be honest. But if we were to get it, what are we going to do with it? It goes back to having that financial literacy, so we're not in a position to go back to the government and beg for more. We're now in the position. We're now in a position to be at the table and tell the government, hey, why don't you invest in this now, and why don't you invest in that? Not invest in me, because you already gave me, and now I'm here to help tell you what else to invest. So that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, that's why I said use a 10-point plan. Look at the 10-point plan, Randy.
Yeah, I agree with all of y'all, and I do understand what Randy means by reparations, and we don't want handouts, but this is not a handout. This will be solving and ending a debt, no matter how much it is, that you created by using Black people to build a country. It needs to be put into motion. Black people need to get reparations. And I don't care if they take it and spend every penny, whatever they want to do with it, it needs to be done. And for those who are white who say, well, it wasn't my generation that did it, but your generation benefited from it. White America has created generational wealth for their children until this earth ends. And the fact of the matter is, even if you wasn't around when it happened, you're still benefiting from it. Your businesses, your schools, the way that you put yourself in position, all of these things would have happened good for the Black community if the Black Wall Street hadn't been destroyed, if the freedmen had been giving the reparations that they gave to all these other people, then the Black community would be in a totally different perspective right now. Yeah. And from what I saw, the way that the Black Wall Street was, that was in every state had one. Black people would have owned a big chunk of America right now, and we would be in a different place in America. It would be a lot more better, because now we wouldn't have to keep having these conversations about reparations if you paid them. You paid it for everybody else. You gave the money to the Jews and you gave it to everybody else. Black Americans had nothing to do with the Holocaust that the Jews experienced in Germany. It should have been Germany who paid them the reparations, not America. And so for America to keep dodging the bullet and say, well, it wasn't us, or we can't figure it out, I think it's a big lie, and it needs to be settled. Black people need to be compensated for the lives that was lost, how we built this city and made this country what it is today off the backs of poor Black people. Guys, we got to get out of here. Your words, Drake.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that everything that Randy said was fair. I just want to kind of level the playing field here, because I think a common problem in the Black community is a lot of times there's nothing to pass down. There have been some really great Black Americans that have overcome the odds and utilize their own self-reliance to start building generational wealth, but that hasn't been the same for everyone across the board. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. But when you have a generation or different groups of people who didn't go through slavery and their families have had the ability to give them a car, to give them a house, generation after generation, the exceptionalism can be for a generation or two and set people up for a while. But if you have situations where people haven't had that exceptionalism, then you're in a situation where you could really help them and plant a seed that will really continue for generations to come. So that's where I think that it would be effective in leveling the playing field for some, because some would waste it. Someone would just pay off a debt and then still live like paycheck to paycheck. But there might be some people that use it smartly and they plant a seed that will help them for generations to come.
Yep. Doc, your last word so we can get out of here.
Okay, well, I still like the 10-point plan. I really do, because it within that plan, if you look at it, it does set up a return on investment and really looks at actually setting up the Black community for a better future going forward, right? That can perpetuate itself to develop that generational wealth. And that's what we want ultimately at the end of the day, to not be dependent upon anybody else again. And as usual, as I like to say, please check out USA Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com.
Dre, your last words.
Yes. If you want more information about immigration, come to Numbers USA. Follow me at Andre and at Andre Numbers USA on X. And you'll find me on the PB&J Hour hosting a show with Peyton Jackson, who is running for Congress in District 33 in Texas. Yes. And I also want to thank Randy, Dr. Nichols, and Pastor Lowery. Randy, I love your element to this show. You've been adding a lot of great flavor and chemistry to this show. Like I really appreciate what you bring to this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Randy, your last words.
I would just say, for everyone that's, interested in following me and checking out my show, Permanent Associates, Mondays and Fridays, noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, at RPURHAM on all social media platforms. That's my handle. And make sure you download the app, Let the Truth Be Told, so you can follow us and watch us while you're mobile. And thank you, Pastor Lowery. Thank you, Dr. Nichols. And thank you, Andre, for this wonderful time that we had this evening.
I want to thank you guys for being on, and we got to keep doing it. We got to keep making the people in this country well aware of what's owed to us. We need to know the truth. We don't need to keep living this lie that the Democratic Party is feeding us. Thanks, guys. We'll be talking soon. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. And to our special guest, Vince Ellison, who was unable to get in here today, we're going to get with you, and we want to have you on our show as well, that you can add your comments to us and be a part of this network. To the American people and patriots across this country, as you can see, President Trump is doing what he needs to do to make this country respectable again. He's doing all the things to end the crime and all the situations, the lies about the crime is not high. The crime is bad in Chicago. And when you add the illegals to it, it's worse. But the leadership in Chicago is horrible. So I'm asking the people of Chicago and the state of Illinois, let us come out the next election. Let us get rid of Brandon Johnson, and y'all can put me in office, and I'm going to do everything I said I'm going to do. Let us support President Trump, and he needs to bring the National Guard to Chicago. To the people of Chicago, let us stand up so that we can get our communities back on track and rebuild our schools and rebuild the ideology that Black people are successful and can be successful. If these things are done and all the other communities will rally around the Black community and help uplift it, then we will make America great again. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.